Things done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning and how are you doing? This is the Situation Room right here on Spice FM. CT Muga, Njeri Thorne, Okoh, and I'm Eric Latiff. And we are discussing issues that really matter to all of us in our lives, and we're going to go deep into them. This first one is about healthcare and access to healthcare.
Right. Just looking at what I'd like to bring forth this morning for us to have a discussion on and really look at the deep-rooted issues as far as I'm concerned is the fact that we have a lot of patients or, a lot seeking medical treatment or medical attention beyond our shores, and specifically in the Republic of India. Now, it has been said that medical treatment in India is being offered at lower prices, and for a lot of people is not necessarily the care that they get, but the fact that they can get it at a fraction of the cost than what they would spend here in Kenya. Now, just looking at some numbers recently, the Ministry of Health for 2018 had said that between the months of January and March, 1,218 Kenyans traveled to India to seek medical attention, to seek medical treatment. 54% of this 1,000 plus were men, 46% were women. 57.8% of these medical cases were cancer related, 16% were renal related, that's having to do with kidneys and kidney failure and the like. 7.8% were cardiovascular treatment, and 3.8% was skeletal treatment, bones and hip replacements and all these things. Now, the reasons why they have gone to India again is rooted in the fact that India is offering this treatment at a much lower price, and also they say that the expertise that they can get in India is more, wide range at what they can find here. And I'm saying that here we are in a situation where more and more people are getting sick. However, I also see a situation where many African countries come to Kenya to get treated. I have been told of South Africans who come here. I know for a fact that many Nigerians and Sierra Leoneans and Liberians come to Kenya to seek treatment. I know that people within the region from Rwanda and Tanzania and Uganda come to Kenya to seek treatment. So why is it that we are exporting our medical problems or our medical cases outside of the country? We do have the medical wherewithal to deal with these cases here. We do have the expertise here as a country to treat, to diagnose, to treat, and to, offer a prognosis when these cases do come. So why is it that we still have this constant outflow? I'll take you back 4 years where in 2015, the President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Prime Minister of India had an agreement, and they said, if it's expertise that we are looking at, let's have an agreement whereby we have a memorandum of understanding, as it were, to bring in training, learning and expertise programs here for our medical personnel to train. Apparently that has not happened to date. What has happened is that we've brought in more doctors from Cuba to help with the stalemate that we see here. I'm going to be very clear on this and say we do have the expertise here. Kenyatta National Hospital has a wing that has been adopted by the Israelis. We have the opportunities here, we have the expertise here, and we are not making enough use of them. And we are exporting our problems to countries whereby others are bringing in their patients to be treated here in Kenya. Why are we doing this? We can salvage a lot of the situations that we see leaving the country, and we are not doing that. This is where I am this morning, and I say that we need to have solutions towards this and keep our problems and see how we can have our problems sorted out in-house, as it were.
I don't know. I think given the nature of what's at stake here, one's health, people would do, whatever they can to ensure it's in a good shape or to ensure they survive. And it's been a long-held notion that treatment is better abroad. So it could just be, remnants of that we're still held on to this belief that treatment is better abroad, because it was for the longest. We didn't have the equipment, we didn't have the facilities, we didn't have the expertise. So maybe it's a matter of informing patients now and informing people that actually, no, you can get this treatment in Kenya. We do have the expertise, we do have the facilities. Maybe the pricing could be an issue still, because I know it's now being promoted as an industry, medical tourism. You have companies that have set up here to send people to India. And India is renowned, I don't know whether it's true or not, but it is renowned for its surgeons and its doctors. It's got that reputation. So when it comes to something as important as your health, which would no doubt be an emotive decision, considering, I can see why people would want to go for the best, would want to go for what's been relied on for, years. So it's going to take some time to change perceptions, because I think that's what they are. I do agree with you. We do have the facilities in place now. We do have the expertise, but at what cost? That I'll ask. And I've even heard conversations, actually, maybe you could chime in on this, CT, where I know that NHIF has paid for people to go to India. So I find that a little bit, I don't know whether to call it paradoxical, or should we not be investing, this is government paying for you to go elsewhere. Should they not be investing in our facilities, in our expertise and training and so on? I don't know if you've come across that, CT.
I've heard, I've even read, but consider NHIF is an insurance, just like any other. So if the cover that you have with NHIF allows you to seek treatment abroad, and your health provider deems it fit that you should seek health care abroad,
Sure.
I do not see any contradiction in this.
When you say it's an insurance just like any other, it's mandatory for starters, isn't it? It's removed from, as pay as you earn equivalent of. So
there's
it's
a
mandatory.
aspect for salaried persons, but also there's a huge aspect of it that is very voluntary.
Okay.
So people are paying voluntarily and, paying...
So say for you and I who are employed and we're paying it, mandatory.
Yes.
Are we happy with the fact that our contributions are going to pay for somebody else's treatment outside the country? Should those funds not be going to investing in more facilities here, or is it actually cheaper to take them outside the country? And if so, why?
Investment should be done by the government. The insurance should basically...
This is an arm of government, or not an arm per se.
Yeah,
it's an agency that falls under government.
Yes, investment should be made by the government. So what insurance companies do in terms of investing their funds and their profit, we can talk about NHIF in that extent. What are they doing? Their deposits, where are those deposits going? Where are they investing? And we know that they invest locally. However, when it comes to giving you what you want, I'm completely okay with that. But coming back into the issue of why are we exporting our problems, like Ndu is saying, why are we exporting our problems to other countries? Njeri, you've actually said something that I'd like to chime in on. And this is, people, when you fall sick, it's about you and your health. And you're definitely not going to go somewhere where you feel that, you're not going to get better. So if you feel that you're going to get better by going to Tanzania, to Loliondo, go. If you feel that you're going to feel better by going to South Africa or to India to seek medical treatment, it's okay to go. The reason why people are going probably now could be, why are people going? Is it that we don't have complete faith in our systems? Is it also because of the cost? If you compare the cost of the treatment that you're going to get here, cost in terms of money and time, are you going to get better returns if you go to India or not?
Well, I mean, if we look at what has happened in the recent case, if we just look at the prominent individuals who have actually gone to India to seek treatment and unfortunately have come home and unfortunately have lost their lives, lost the fight to specifically cancer, then you beg the question, okay, so, I mean, are we making any headway in going that way? Secondly, those elements are there. Cost, the decision to say, well, I want the best. Again, then we have to ask the question, do we then not have faith in the health system that we have here? We don't have faith in the health system. And then we need to move further then and ask, why do we not have faith in this system? Has it failed in the sense that people are not being treated well when they present their cases, or they spend too much money to be able to go? Kenyatta National Hospital, a national, okay, maybe it has lost some glory in terms of what it was able to do and how it was able to treat individuals. But does that mean that the expertise is lacking in that particular facility? We have lost faith in our system. So now, who do we call upon to say, now we need to start pegging up to make sure that what we then offer to the people who come to us as, as potential clients, we are actually, giving them their money's worth or their faith's worth. In this case,
you mentioned the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, coming here and having a statement with the president, and they said they were going to do something, implement and training and also even invest. Remember, there was an issue of the Kenyatta University Hospital. Very big facility that has been set up by Kenyatta University. It was going to bring in all the expertise from other countries. Where is it? What is that expertise? So if you do not have the facilities that you're talking about, how can you have faith?
It's a little bit more than that. It is, it's like what we're discussing is the manifestation of a national mental shift that involves the citizenry having or losing trust in anything that is associated with the government. Look at the upside. Let's start with education, for instance. Once upon a time, people went to public schools and that was the place that you went to get your education.
Yeah.
Then private schools came about, and private schools came to be the byword for performance and for guaranteed outcomes in education. That same thinking has come to the medical field, where anything that is government related is treated with suspicion and doubt. And yet, if you actually understand how government hospitals work, that is where you're likely to get the best treatment.
Let me give you cases of cancer. If you went to Kenyatta National Hospital today or any other level 5 hospital across the country, you'll find patients queuing to get cancer treatment or to get renal care. How long they take on the queue. When you go there and you're told, all right, so you come back after 6 weeks, that's when you're going to get a position in a dialysis machine. Really? Whereas you're told by somebody that if you go to India, you'll go and you'll get admitted today, and tomorrow you'll be on the bed and you'll be going through chemotherapy or radiotherapy, or you'll be going through dialysis. What will you do? You go to India.
Actually, you would go even to the private hospitals, but the costs would be prohibitive.
Private hospitals, actually, it's a cost issue.
Yes. So, again, it brings us to leadership and the will, because it isn't an absence of trained or knowledgeable personnel. It is the will. You will find that the equipment you speak of even exists, but they are not all functional. There may be 3 dialysis machines, but only one is operational. So
at any one time.
Yes. Now, Kenyatta National Hospital is actually meant to be a referral hospital. And the reason why Kenyatta gets clogged up is because the so-called sub-county hospitals that are supposed to take care of the patients perhaps have lacked the capacity or the leadership to ensure that they do what they do. So cases that they should handle end up at Kenyatta. So at any given moment in time, Kenyatta can't actually handle the cases that come to it. Even if it wished it, it wanted it, it cannot.
Is this why we're looking at a situation where we now then translate it to be that they don't have the capacity or they don't have the expertise? Whereas if these other hospitals were handling it the way that they should have been, we would then see a situation where you or I would be able to walk into the hospital and then get the care that we needed at a cost that we were then able to afford. And I think we also have to look at, am I right, City?
Yes, the health sector actually is very well structured. It begins with the smallest unit called a dispensary, okay, where you simply go, diagnose, given, and it moves up to the health facilities to the point where you get to the levels that you're speaking of. Meaning, at every level, certain medical conditions should be sorted out at that level. Now, if those levels don't have the personnel, don't have the wherewithal, then all these problems get clogged up at a higher level. Now, the inefficiency that arises from that is what you're looking at, and people are saying the lack of capacity, lack of the other.
Then I'm going to go to India.
Then I'm going to go to India.
And you see, the thing is also, let's not behave as if when you go to this said India that you're not going to spend a pretty penny. You are going to spend quite a lot of money.
It's not the masses that are going to India.
It's not the masses that are going to India.
No,
hold on. When you get there,
go across the country and you'll find harambes being conducted.
This is my point.
The masses are going to seek treatment in India.
But the point is, they're doing what? They're still raising money to go because they cannot afford it. Even that
they're raising
treatment,
money because they also raise money locally to go to private hospitals. And the results that they get are wanting. That's why they seek to go elsewhere.
Are the results that they get also then 100% they come back and then they come back into a perfectly healthy situation and everything is okay with them?
In many cases, people going to, when you go to seek treatment, it's not a guarantee that because I've gone to the best facility, I'm going to get well. No. In many cases, when they go to seek treatment, they actually get the care that they require. If in some cases, it's beyond help, you unfortunately pass away. But many people who have gone to seek treatment abroad, India, South Africa, and all the other countries, have come back and they're better. They're okay. It's just like going to any hospital here. This basically what we are doing here is we are telling you, when you're telling us that Kenya has the capacity, no. Kenya does not have the capacity.
I think we do, but it's expensive. So
that's capacity.
And that counts in capacity.
Yes.
You see, if you have
it should be government
it should
provided.
Be affordable healthcare.
Yeah. You've got a couple private hospitals, and in fact, if you look at the private hospitals, look at them, the major ones: Nairobi Hospital, the Aga Khan, Mata Hospital. How many are they? MP Shah Hospital.
But no, actually, interesting because you have people who can afford. So I don't know if it's merely just affordability. You do have people who can afford everything.
But still go to India.
But will still go abroad.
For
India,
example,
France with the late Ken Coff.
I mean, you have cases where, if we could just mention the Aga Khan Hospital, with their units that they've established in the last 2-3 years, specialized cancer care, specialized cardiovascular care, specialized even neonatal care when it comes to the premature children, where operations need to be taken on or performed on children at that age. They're able to carry this out. You have people who are able to afford this care but still take the option of going out. So I don't think in all cases it's primarily the money.
I think it's psychological there.
Yes.
I think it's the placebo effect almost. You feel you're going abroad and you actually do get better as a result.
Njeri,
and that's based on the past where we didn't have the capacity at some point. And so, going abroad, it's guaranteed. It's more regulated. If you're going, let's say, to the UK, if you're going to India, it's got the reputation of having the best sort of medical staff.
It goes beyond trust. It's a poverty of spirit. When you consider that, by and large, this is, psychology is correct here in that people who come from countries like ours, you corrected me yesterday, you called emerging third world economy?
There's no third world doesn't exist.
Third world.
Okay.
It's emerging democracies, emerging economies.
We tend to have low self-esteem with regards to things that are ours. We mistrust our own and we trust others.
Because we've seen. Well, go on.
What has informed that, though? Before you build on that premise,
because we've seen it. Because
thank you. Yeah, maybe
no.
You have cases, City. Just to add to your point, you have cases where people have gone to India or South Africa, and in matters where they were being diagnosed with a common cold here and which kept recurring, they go to India and they're told, "Wait a minute, what do you mean you've had a common cold? This is not a common cold. This is actually a brain tumor or something like that."
Lord.
And and yet you've actually been going through systems.
Cases abound.
You have spent money.
What you're referring to,
it's trust.
Is
go ahead.
Well, what it is associated with is where your healthcare is financed from. If you have insurance, it is believed in this country that there seems to be a fight and a battle to ensure that whatever limit you have in your insurance card is exhausted. And that seems to be the debate. Because if you have an insurance of, say, 2 million shillings, then they will give you 2 million shillings worth of care. Not in that you will get well, but the 2 million shillings will be exhausted. That is the perception that people have. But when I talked about poverty of spirit, let me explain what I mean. Yes, there's a history behind it. But even in the absence of that history, there is still this belief among our people that the grass is actually greener and better elsewhere.
You would be surprised at the number of African countries. You'd be surprised at the number of
economy.
See why?
Can I say you'd be surprised at the number of African countries that would seek medical care in Kenya. Oh, absolutely. Kenya is looked up to in terms of, okay, you know what? From my own country, I say, okay, my eyes have this particular issue. I've had this problem with my lungs. I've had this problem with my endocrine system. Guess what? They're looking to come to Kenya because they feel that, here the treatment is actually, quite up there if we're looking at the ladder of success or if we're looking at the ladder of expertise. And they feel that Kenya will offer them, what their own countries where they're domiciled will not offer.
No, we are
will
not saying
give.
we are not saying
What
that
I'm
Kenya
saying-
does not have the experts or Kenya does not have the facilities. We are just saying that Kenya does not have enough, adequate. Let's take a look at what people are saying. Actually, Spice FM KE on Twitter. Lois says, "Picture this: my friend goes to a reputable hospital in Kenya, gets a wrong diagnosis. He's put on life medication, and he takes for about 7 months, which exhausts his liver, and is given 3 months to live or seek 12 million treatment in India. Why then would I trust the expertise here? He sought the treatment and got a liver transplant. He's now okay, thank God, and I don't trust Kenyan hospitals."
It's actually quite sad. It's actually quite sad because the thing that you have that you can call your own, which other people look up to, and then we don't have because of cases where things like this have actually happened.
Yes, and not once, not
But
twice.
Eric, what
There
you
are
brought into
numerous
question
cases.
then is the training of our medical personnel.
Exactly.
It goes even into those issues. The training of our medical personnel. Are they able to diagnose properly? Are they
You're asking, are they properly? Are they adequately trained?
Are they adequately trained?
You're bringing that into question.
We are taking your feedback on this. Spice FM KE on Facebook, Spice FM KE on Twitter. You can also call us 0719-012-600. Why are we seeking medical treatment abroad? Yet, as Ndu says, Kenya has the capacity to handle this locally. In fact, she says, many other people from other African countries are coming to seek this treatment here locally. And you're talking about education of training of our doctors.
Well, you have actually brought that to the fore.
I
Because
didn't.
You did.
Our listener did.
Inadvertently, you did. Because if we are arguing and saying, look, we have a situation where someone was misdiagnosed, then you're saying that someone lacks the capacity to diagnose correctly. Now, how would that arise? Personal incompetence, or is it a factor of the training?
Or negligence.
Or
Or
negligence.
I think that's one thing that helps regulate a lot of other.
Or lack of diagnostic equipment. Insufficient diagnostic equipment.
So are you saying we don't have the capacity then, Eric?
we
Because
don't have I've been saying this since the beginning.
You're saying we don't have the capacity or the expertise, and that is why people are
He calls
seeking
that capacity. All that is capacity.
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
have the capacity. We don't have sufficient. We have capacity, yes. We don't have
Okay,
sufficient capacity.
can we deconstruct what we mean by capacity? Expertise? Do we have the doctors with the know-how, wherewithal?
We've got a few doctors with the know-how, wherewithal. We've got a few facilities that have the capacity to diagnose. Are those facilities
Oh, but
enough to
not
cater for the-
enough.
Are they enough to
Okay,
cater
so
for
it's
the
a matter
population?
of
We
more
don't have that.
investment into the health sector.
I think it's not true.
I don't think it's true either.
Facilities we have.
So what's lacking? Management, leadership?
That
Goodwill.
also, because in the absence
Capacity.
of that, the issue of equipment, the issue of what goes on, what makes it a viable health institution will be like simply because of that factor. If you're talking about health facilities and their existence, we have them in abundance. Do not
So why? I mean, these people can't be crazy. Why are they going abroad, CT?
simply because whatever we have locally isn't meeting their needs. It's not complicated.
Why is it not meeting their needs?
Capacity.
The same thing. It is a combination of things. If we keep seeking one solution or one answer, we won't get it. It's not one thing. It is cost. It is the lack of what Eric refers to as professional capacity or technical capacity. It's a combination of all that. And then there's perception.
Perception, I agree with, because you have people who can afford, the best facilities
And
here,
and they
But
seek-
they
but
still
they will
go out.
still go abroad. So I think that's a matter of
I think also we can
information.
excuse those people. They can afford the best. And if
So are you saying we don't have
You
the
can't
best?
get the best
No,
here in
no,
Kenya.
no.
Is that what you're saying? Is that
No,
conclusive?
The best is not unique to Kenya. Jerry, you can
No,
be the
what's
best.
interesting is people
you can
go
be the best
go
here,
go
but also
abroad.
there's somebody who's better than you abroad. And if I can afford to go to that person who's better than you abroad, I'll go because I can afford it.
So you're saying globally we are not competing on that platform as the best in anything Medicare?
No, there are people who are better in some areas that are not in Kenya. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And that's why the people who can afford, people who can afford to go for medical
So
treatment.
some are going for the best globally.
Yes,
Okay,
they're going
understood.
for the best globally, and
Yes.
because they can afford it. Now, the rest of us who cannot afford the best globally are actually looking for what works for me.
Interesting you talk about the best, because I think that is actually the reason most people go out for medical. They believe it is the best. actually.
When you
Even
go to
India. When
buy-
you speak to people, they say, no, the best treatment is India.
When you go to buy anything, you go buy the best.
Especially when it comes to your health. It's
Yes.
the best you can afford.
It's
at
the best
least.
you can afford.
It's the best I think that it's interesting to put the rider on that. It's not the best for most people. It's the best that you can afford.
Yes.
It is what they are looking for in terms of cost. However, I think that perhaps it calls me to put on my sleuth's hat, and maybe something we can look at even further, because then we would say, okay, how much does this actually cost, and do a comparative analysis, there we go, between the two, and say if you were to go to India for a length of treatment for XYZ disease, what would it cost there, taking up your housing and your accommodation and all the other things that you must do once you go, and the same thing if you were here in Kenya getting the same kind of treatment. Maybe it's something that we need to look at and say, okay, really, if we're looking at cost, how much more is it in, what is the difference between there and here, and then the results that you get after that.
If people perceive that what they're going for is the best, as we've been saying, everything else now.
You won't be able to change their mind.
Not only that, the outcomes are not really questioned. Remember, you are seeking to live.
Yep.
So if someone ends up past, they feel, no, they did their best. Whereas if the same outcome was here, they would say,
you killed my person.
yes, fault would be found.
We'll always
Because
find
we look
faults.
at we look at situations. I mean, just having a conversation with someone, even as late as yesterday, who said, well, you know what, 3 members of my family sick with cancer went to India. We raised money, they went to India, and they came back. We've buried all of them. So if we're looking at a situation where we're saying we're going to get the best and we still are burying our family members, is it worth it?
The fact that you're seeking the best is not a guarantee. Okoh has actually opened up a can of worms this morning, and she's saying, why are we going to seek medical treatment abroad while we have the capacity here? And there are those of us who have actually agreed that, yes, Kenya has the capacity, and those like me who think that Kenya does not have sufficient capacity to cater for all the population. If somebody wants to go to India, can afford to go to India, let them go to India. That is what they're seeking. We'd love to know what you think on this. Twitter handle SpiceFM KE, and that's Twitter and Facebook. Telephone number 0719-012-600. We'll take your calls right after this. It's now 29 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Spice FM on 94.4 in Nairobi and 87.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads this morning.
Traffic.
So apparently today is the day to be in the streets, because all the roads that we normally have issues with are flowing extremely smoothly. So if you want to experience what traffic is like, or rather if you want to experience what the roads are like on a Thursday morning without traffic, today is the day to get in your car and get on Mombasa Road, get on Gong Road, get on Jogo Road, and get on Thika Road, because traffic is flowing smoothly. Nobody has any issues. And if you're late to work today or late to your place of business, then we're going to have to question why that is, because traffic is flowing smoothly and there are no incidents or accidents as such, but we never know. Things don't always remain the same. Give us a call or let us know what's happening where you are, so that as usual we can keep you moving.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Spice FM KE. Also, our Facebook page is Spice FM KE. The conversation is actually happening online, very vibrant conversation. And the issue we're discussing this morning in the Situation Room, Eric Latiff, Okoh, Njeri Thorne, and CT Muga, is why are we going to seek medical treatment abroad? Yet, as Okoh says, Kenya has the capacity to actually offer all these services locally. And we've got a lot of feedback on this. And as we read that comment from a listener who said, well, I don't trust what we have, what we are getting locally. Also, somebody else on Twitter is saying, I have been queuing at a local hospital to get treatment, but I haven't gotten it. I think this is talking to outside Nairobi. People are queuing to seeking treatment, and I think this is on a terminal case. And basically, it's taking just too long to get treated.
I think if these sentiments are made, I think another thing is that, if we're going to then look towards, if the issues that we're saying, because that was the point of this, to raise the issue and see then what exactly is the problem, because we know of cases where people have gone into here in Kenya, gone into hospitals, gotten treatment, and are all right, and have been able to get treatment for, complicated things. Now, if others have an issue we're looking at queuing, we've talked about issues whereby the particular machine is not working. Can we raise these as flags? Can we say these are the problems that we have? And if we have a listening collective will by the powers that be, in this case, the Ministry of Health. And we also said that, health is devolved in this country. Health is devolved in this country. So if we're looking at places outside of Nairobi, for example, where we don't have this particular machine working, or we don't have adequate staff here, it's not something that we can raise and start to make noise about and begin to lobby and say that we need these things to be done, because it's not for lack of medical staff. It's not for lack.
Calls are coming in 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. We've got Lydia in Nairobi. Lydia, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, what's your contribution to this?
Regarding a solution to the problem about cost, facility, capacity, diagnosis, I don't know. I just think we should ask these manufacturers of the scanners and, these machines, X-ray machines, to come and give them a free office space in the hospitals and tell them, manage your machines and do the work and charge, so that the hospitals don't have to order them and buy them and train. So let the manufacturer be given a free office, and he provides the service to the patients.
I think that's
an interesting concept.
Brilliant idea, actually.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But this has actually been practiced by the government, by the national leasing of medical equipment, where several companies were identified and were told, bring your equipment in the country. But they were leasing and they're servicing. Because a manufacturer's job is not to manage the machine, it's to manufacture.
Oh, they can if you have an arrangement with them.
They should, and then they can employ the staff to work on those machines.
So then it's a direct cost.
A small fee, yes.
Yeah, it's a direct cost, and it doesn't have to be transferred.
Yes, and they pay their own electricity bill, etc. And the thing is that our blood cells are like little fish. When you're happy, they're happy.
Yep.
When you're sad and angry, they're confused. They can cause madness, heart attack, or stroke. So these are also the basics. Another border guy close to my office, he fell down, and his whole cheek lost his skin.
Wow.
And in the evening, I just took out my petroleum jelly. I only touched it twice. I don't like to use anything that has perfume because I have an allergy on perfume things. So I gave him my petroleum jelly. He applied it by looking at the mirror on his motorbike, and he said, "Oh, I feel so good." The dust and the sun was away. After 4 weeks, I asked him, "Who of you was that one?"
Yep.
He said, "It was me." Within 1 week, it healed. And the city council clinic was just the next pavement on the opposite side. But he didn't want to go. He wanted to look for
why was he not seeking treatment at the clinic?
Why didn't he want to go?
He wants to look for a customer to make money. So he covered that face with a cloth, put his crash helmet, and he went. He's after making. He's an honest hard worker. Now, if he went to the clinic, how much would he have to pay?
The time that he'd spend there as well.
Because the blood cells are our bosses. They came under the petroleum jelly, and they did the repair.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your call this morning, and we appreciate your call. You see, what basically she's raising is the matter here is hospitals being able to afford to invest in this equipment. I think that's the issue that she was raising there. Being able to afford to invest in this equipment. We've got another call on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I was trying to. I think what you guys are talking is really true, and I was like, I know people going outside for treatment is because it's soothing, and I know doctors are experts. The expertise themselves are working well. I'm not saying Kenyan doctors are not working; they're doing their job. But the problem is, what they're looking into the financial status. They only see money. Yeah. If you have money, then they just charge you something that you don't even understand.
Yep. So
that's exactly the problem. Yeah. But the only thing is they can do their job well. But if you have money, they can work on you well. But if you don't, sometimes there are people who don't. Not money is for everybody, but we have to help people because being a doctor is saving lives. But they don't understand the word saving life. What saving life is.
Do you hear that? That's part of the reasons why people are going.
It's a whole other, kettle of fish. If we're saying that doctors who have taken an oath to save and to aid life are now only concerned about money, then now it goes back again to the moral fabric of our society to say, okay, where are we going with this? Where now those who've been basically mandated socially to take care of people's lives are now only looking towards money and what it can do for them. Then I think that's a deeper problem than necessarily I don't have enough money to go to the hospital and get treatment for what I'm sick from. It's a deeper problem, and then we have to look at morality as a whole.
Exactly. See, there's one thing that's why we need to express this thing. Like the government should have to make some changes. Like, you know what? We know this is how it is, and then there are things that we have to know that these are people, these are our fellow citizens that we're working on. Not whatever, even if it's not our own, but this is a human being is that we're doing that thing on. But the exact thing is actually sometimes all these hospitals bringing students in like that. The doctor just attends to you like maybe a minute or 2 minutes, and then later you're given a student to be working on. You look at that, and that's why the problem is. Yeah, the student is from the school brought to the hospital, and then he's the one attending to you. And the doctor is only seeing you in 1 minute time or 2 minutes. You look at that procedures, bro. Yeah, it's exactly that's the problem. I was there. I had my sister, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I want to talk to the doctor because what you're telling me to pay right now. Yeah, I was there only for 2 days, and when I look at Nairobi, so I was in Nairobi for 2 days. Then I came and I paid like 382,100 and something. And I was like, what is this? What was this bill for? And I was like, what was this bill for?
Yeah.
And
so it's a cost issue. It's a cost issue. It's also a capacity issue. And you feel that the students that are looking that have been deployed to actually to talk to the patients are not sufficiently educated or qualified to actually deal with this. Asante sana for your contribution this morning. Keep listening to Spice FM 94.4 in Nairobi and 87.9 Mombasa and other frequencies across the country. This is what's coming up. Just like I said, capacity.
I think he brings in a very good point, actually. The fact that the reputation a lot of our health providers have is that they're after money first and foremost. This is in the private sector, so whether you're paying cash or you're insured, they do everything they can to fleece and get as much, they really rinse it, get as much as they can out of you. So you go in, you have a cold, and they'll do an x-ray in your chest, they'll do an x-ray on your brain, you'll have a CT scan, and this is for the common cold. And they're charging for all of this. And I think that's one of the reasons people do go abroad, because it brings down the trust and confidence in the system and the capacity. So the capacity might be there, but when people feel that the money aspect overrides everything else, then you lose trust and confidence in a system. And if that's the case where your health is concerned, it more than explains, or it easily explains away why anybody would be looking to travel abroad for medical treatment, for me anyway.
Indeed. The trust issue cannot be overestimated. Neither can it be overstated. Because the entire industry of health is actually based on trust. You go to a hospital believing that these people know what they're doing,
and that what they're going to diagnose you with is the case.
And that whatever they tell you to do is what will make you feel better. You don't go to seek healthcare if you're well. You go to seek healthcare when you're unwell. Now, if that trust is eroded, then everything else follows. Yes, and one then seeks an alternative position where they can now levy their trust. Because if it's lost in one area or in one place, it has to find a new nesting place.
So the issue that we're discussing this morning is that why do we seek medical treatment abroad, yet we have the capacity locally, and that's what we're discussing. Do we actually have the capacity to handle some of these cases locally? We've brought in issues of our capacity, the number of hospitals that we have, the number of doctors we have, the number of facilities that have been put in place, the kind of training that's going on. And Njeri and Okoh actually also broached the issue of insurance, and insurance is our next topic. And in terms of what insurance companies actually give us versus what we get versus what we buy into and all those things. And we are going to come back and discuss that. However, we're still taking your calls and your feedback on this. 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. Our Twitter handle is SpiceFMKE. Our Facebook is SpiceFMKE. Good morning. 8:14 to 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room right here on 94.4 Spice FM. Njeri Thorne, CT Muga, Ndu Okoh, and my name is Eric Latiff. We are discussing healthcare, why we go to seek healthcare abroad. Yet, as Ndu has been telling us this morning, Kenya has the capacity. In fact, other people from African countries have been coming to Kenya to seek medical treatment, yet we are seeing many cases of many Kenyans going to seek medical treatment abroad. We've got feedback online. We've got our telephone number 0719 012 600. We also have our Spice FM KE Twitter handle and Spice FM KE Facebook page, all very, very, very active on this conversation. Shall I take a caller and then we come in to look at what's on Facebook? Good morning. Hello.
Hi, Latiff. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Now,
Yes.
on this healthcare issue, first of all, I have to commend you guys. I mean, finally, we have content that we can relate with in the morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, what's your name, by the
issue-
way? You haven't told us your name.
I am Mike.
Mike.
Call me Mike.
All right,
Yeah.
Mike, what's your contribution?
At the end of the day, what will sort the trust issues that surround the healthcare sector within the country is a healthcare commission, and I will explain. Right now, if a doctor has a malpractice on you, you'll take that doctor to the healthcare board,
Yes.
headed by the same colleagues. Some of them are his juniors. Assuming a professor in urology, God forbid, does a damn thing on your neck. I mean, you'll take him to a junior colleague at the board. Do you expect that junior colleague to get a finding on his superior? That is one. Secondly, I don't expect any outcomes that are positive in any of the public healthcare sectors within the country. And I'll explain.
Wow.
In my life as a practitioner, I've had a situation where I had to actually be to see patients pass on, not because I didn't have the expertise, but I'm not empowered to do so in terms of equipment, in terms of drugs. Yeah, I know of situations where theater just had one scalpel to open up patients
Theater in public hospital?
in a public hospital. Now, go to the private. The private hospitals have capped every doctor in terms of the number of patients he sees. That's the productivity, not the outcome.
So it's the number of patients that you
Are we
see.
together?
That's your KPI.
It's a KPI.
That's your major KPI, and not just the number of patients. In fact, it goes further. The value of your prescription.
I see.
So that now you'll find you went there with a viral flu, but you'll be given drugs worth an amount that your insurance has to get a pre-authorization for them to pay. Okay?
Yes.
Look at most of the ladies nowadays. It's not because they needed a CS, but most of practitioners are scalpel happy.
I agree with that.
You'll always go because it's an epidural. Oh, within no time you woken up. Hey, look, you have a baby. All that is geared towards revenue. They need to increase revenue streams, even make it local, bring even the point home further. Which private hospital doesn't charge parking fees? if really they were there
From the
to
basics.
Take care of the health of people.
Let's even start even from where you start. Get into the entrance. The first thing you'll have to do is to pay your parking.
Yep.
Assuming you have a day-long surgery that will require you to be there from morning 8 to the evening. I've seen cases where patients have to pay 5,000 shillings on top.
For parking.
Off.
And this is just
Yeah,
parking.
for just the parking.
Wow.
Mike, you
And
said
this is a patient. This is not a guy who went there to have fun.
Mike, you said you're a practitioner.
Yeah, sure.
And this therefore means that what we're discussing is right down your alley. And the number of issues that you've raised here, you've raised ethical issues in terms of the ethics that are being practiced by many of these private facilities. You've also talked about the capacity of even private and public facilities, where you mentioned just one scalpel for an operation in a public hospital. And that is horrendous. But also you've talked about the issues of governance and regulation and the commission.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said that the commission should be instituted that will be working much better than the regulatory boards that you have. So,
And that's the point. Yeah.
Who will be sitting in this commission then, if it's not medical practitioners?
60% should be constituted of people who are not in practice. So then the the decisions made will be more rational. Take an example of the Teacher Service Commission. I mean, is it headed by a headmaster?
He makes a very interesting point, because even
That's the point.
legally with medical negligence, for the longest they had what you call the Bolam test, which meant if another doctor would have done the same thing as you, then it wasn't considered negligent, which is what he's sort of talking about. If you have doctors judging other doctors, they'll protect themselves, for starters. And then if it's a senior doctor and they're taking it to a junior doctor, then he's not in a position to sort of say anything wrong about his superior, so to speak. So he does have a good point, and that was actually changed in law when it comes to clinical negligence, whereby it's no longer this Bolam test, which was based on what would have another doctor done, but it's based on the reasonable man as well. So this reasonable man is what he's talking about in the commission, having 60% of that. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, sure. That is the thing, and that's the point. And not to say that Kenyan doesn't have capacity. In fact, it's true. Our neighbors here always look forward to coming to get, they would prefer to come to Nairobi than even to fly. It's cheaper and all that. We have the capacity. We have the knowledge. In fact, most of our practitioners here are members of those international regulatory bodies and all those. So the capacity we have here, what they'll do here is basically what would be done in India. Only that in India there is an exaggerated accommodation cost because it's medical tourism. Now, when you put in a tourism there, now it becomes luxurious. I mean, at the end of the day, you'll be charged. You'll be charged. If you are charged 1,000 shillings for a procedure, just know 3,000 shillings
Will
goes
go
to
towards your accommodation.
Thank you. Your accommodation.
Thank you very much, Mike, for your contribution.
Great
this morning.
insights there. Yeah.
Thank you
Great
very much.
insights, and thank you for calling, and keep listening to 94.4 Spice FM. I'm assuming you're in Nairobi. So he has basically just given us great insights, like you said, Ndu. So respond to that as we close this topic.
Well, I think it's very clear from what he said, from a practitioner's point of view, that, you know, the capacity is available right here where we are. I think that it's clear that just from the way he has spoken and what the things that he has said, you can find that expertise here. The information perhaps is not shared as widely and as in-depth as it should be. Of course, mistakes will be made. That's why you have commissions like this that have been set up. But I think that is present in any country where there's a medical system. I believe that there is work on part of the government when it comes to sharing of this information, capacity building, expertise, transfer of skills and such. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I think, a lot of this work, as they say, charity begins at home.
I feel we've barely scratched the surface on this topic, and I think we need to dedicate another day to come back into this and look at the various aspects, like how the medical practitioner is being governed, the laws, like you said, on malpractice, the ethical side of it, of the business. This is a Situation Room right here on 94.4 Spice FM. We're also streaming live online, www.spicefm.co.ke. It's 8 o'clock. In the next hour, we're going to discuss the issue of insurance and media. And insurance, CT Muga will be telling us that insurance companies are selling falsehood to the public.
Lord.